Today is April the 2nd, and I am in my Father's house. And the Bible is the history book. I like the history book. I'm not interested in another book. And there is a reason for that. Most of you are not interested in, or you may not be, I guess you might be if you watch my videos, you might be interested in the history book. Because God has declared. That means God has said. And we are living according to some calendars. This is 2019. There is another calendar that would tell you that we are not in 2019. There may be a calendar that goes from Genesis day one until today. And there can be a calendar that goes from the day that God blessed Noah and his sons and made a covenant with them and the animals. That is another beginning. Because when after the water had dried up off of the land, nothing was there. Nothing. Noah had birds in the boat. The boat had a roof on it. Nothing in the boat got wet from the rain, but the earth flooded and the waters got deep. And for a year, Noah was in the boat. A year, Noah was restricted into, and he was in a boat that he had built with his own hands. God had shut the door. Noah didn't have to shut the door. God, I believe God closed the door. And when it was closed, it was closed. And when it opened, it opened. And if you read the history book, you can see what Noah did after he had come out of the ark. I have been in my Father's house now for a number of years. I have been here. I will be here for a number of years. I'm sure I will be here. God has determined some things. And if God has determined something, I am confidently and assured that God can do what he says he will do. Some people do not quite understand. And the reason their understanding is not what it should be is because they have not been given the right instructions. They may have been given the right instructions. They just did not heed them. So I am here today in my Father's house to let you know that today is the day of salvation. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. Most people today do not know what it means to harden their own heart. They don't. If one rebels and refuses to do the will of God, the heart has been hardened. Yes. And God can do what he wants to do with what he's created. He can. If you don't believe it, you have not read the history book. God created one man from the dust of the earth and breathed into his nostrils, and the man became. When the man began to breathe, he became. And people have been breathing every day since then. There was a day, no, there was a year that only 8 people were breathing. 8 people got off or came out of the ark that Noah had built. Those 8 people were breathing. And those 8 people, from those 8 people, Noah's sons, the earth today has been populated. God made a covenant with Noah and the animals, and God has not broken that covenant. No, he has not. God keeps his word. And somebody says, I can't go into what somebody says on that one. No, now is not the time for it. What I want people to do today is to examine themselves. I don't need to examine you. Because if I did examine you, you wouldn't like probably the outcome of the examination. You may not like the examination if you examine yourselves. But I do have the history book. I've got a history book right there. I've got a history book right here. I've got a history book right there. I have 3 in front of me. And God sits in heaven on a throne where he has been the whole time that Noah, after he was 600 years old or 500 years old. Anyway, before the earth dried up, Noah could see God and enjoy some things every day. After God flooded the earth and moved his residence into heaven, he hasn't spent a lot of time on the earth. I'm talking about God. There were some years that God enjoyed being on the earth. He did. But it became, there came a time that he wasn't enjoying it. And that's when he decided to do what he did. There will be a king on the earth again. This is 2019. There will be a king on the earth again. And you may want to tell me, well, there is a king on the earth now. Really? There's a king on the earth now? I can read about kings in the book. There have been many kings, there's no doubt. But only one king that God made a king to be king forever. That was Jesus of Nazareth, whom they crucified, and God raised him from the dead.